The Hall of Elites had seen many kinds of beings, but never a human like this. The hall was vast, wide enough to hold a small city. The ceiling curved high above, made of crystal and metal that glowed with soft blue light. Floating symbols moved slowly in the air, showing the power and history of the Galactic Alliance. Tall alien figures sat in long rows, their bodies different in shape, size, and color. Some had scales, some had wings, some were made of light itself. They were the rulers, generals, and thinkers of the galaxy, and at the very center of the hall stood one human. His name was Elias Kane. He stood alone on the smooth floor, his hands relaxed at his sides. He wore simple clothes, dark fabric worn but clean, no shining armor, no advanced weapons, no symbols of rank. Compared to the aliens around him, he looked small, almost fragile. Laughter echoed through the hall. Low clicks, sharp hisses, soft hums, and mocking sounds filled the air. Many of the elites leaned forward in their seats, amused. A human. One tall reptilian being said, its eyes glowing yellow. This is what Earth sends to speak for them. Another elite, tall and thin with glowing veins under transparent skin, let out a soft laugh. They are brave, I will give them that. Or very foolish. Elias did not react, his face stayed calm, he had heard worse. The galaxy was at war, not a small war, not a distant conflict. It was a spreading fire. Entire systems had fallen silent. Trade routes were broken. Fleets were destroyed. At the center of it all was an unknown force, fast, violent, and ruthless. They attacked without warning and showed no mercy. The Alliance had failed to stop them. That was why the human was here. Earth was young compared to the ancient races of the galaxy. Humans had joined the Alliance only a few decades ago. They were considered clever, adaptable, but weak, too emotional, too divided, not worthy of serious power. And yet when the war began, human ships did not retreat. They fought. They lost many ships, many lives, but they learned. They adapted faster than anyone expected. Their tactics changed with every battle. Their engineers improved weapons mid-war. Their soldiers fought on broken ground, in vacuum, and against enemies far stronger than themselves. Still, the elites laughed. Elias raised his eyes and looked around the hall. He did not bow. He did not beg. I am not here to impress you, he said calmly. His voice was steady, clear, and carried across the hall. I am here because this war will reach all of you, soon. A heavy silence followed, broken by another laugh. You speak as if you understand war, said a massive armored being, its body covered in thick plates. Humans barely survived their own planet. Elias nodded once. That is true, and that is why we are still here. Some elites shifted in their seats. Others looked away. The unknown enemy had a name now, the Voidborn. They moved like shadows between stars. Their ships ignored shields. Their weapons broke matter itself. Entire fleets of elite races had vanished after facing them. The Alliance had gathered to decide their next move. Most had already made their choice. They would retreat, fortify their core worlds, sacrifice the outer systems. Earth was one of those outer systems. Elias knew this. He had known before he entered the hall. You expect us to fight for you? A winged alien asked, its feathers glowing faintly. Your world is not essential to the Alliance. Elias took a slow breath. Earth is not asking for protection. That caused more laughter. Then why are you here, human? The reptilian elite asked. Elias looked straight ahead. Because we found something. The hall grew quieter, something. The glowing vein being repeated. A pattern, Elias said. The Voidborn do not attack randomly, they test, they observe, they adapt, and when they strike fully, they erase everything. Some elites leaned forward now, interest slowly replacing mockery. Our fleets were destroyed, the armored elite said. What makes you think your kind has any answer? Elias paused, because we survived first contact. That earned a few surprised murmurs. Human fleets were not destroyed, Elias continued. We lost, yes, but we learned, we fought them again, and they started to avoid us. The hall went silent. Avoid, that word carried weight. Still doubt remained. You expect us to believe this without proof? The reptilian elite said. Before Elias could answer, a deep, heavy sound echoed through the hall. Step. Then another. The sound was slow, powerful, and deliberate. Many elites turned their heads. From a wide entrance at the side of the hall, something massive walked in. It was a leopard. Not a simple animal. This creature was large, far larger than any Earth predator. Its muscles moved smoothly beneath golden fur marked with dark rosettes. Its eyes glowed faintly, intelligent and sharp. A presence followed it, heavy and commanding, as if the air itself moved aside for it. Gasps filled the hall. The leopard species was ancient. Rare, respected, they were not pets, they were not beasts, they were watchers, war guardians. They chose no side unless the galaxy itself was at risk. The leopard walked past the elites, past the glowing beings, past the armored rulers, past the ancient strategists, straight toward the human. Elias felt it before he saw it. The weight of its presence pressed against his senses. He stayed still. The leopard stopped beside him, then slowly it sat. Right next to the human. The hall fell into complete silence. No laughter, no whispers, only disbelief. A young alien woman stood among the elites, her skin softly glowing with silver-blue light. Her eyes widened as she watched the scene. She had studied history. She knew what this meant. The leopard had chosen. Elias did not move. His heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. He did not look at the leopard. He did not need to. The choice had been made. Somewhere far beyond the hall, the void-born fleets moved closer. The war was coming to its next phase, and humanity was no longer standing alone. Silence ruled the Hall of Elites. The massive leopard remained seated beside Elias' cane, its tail resting calmly on the polished floor. Its golden eyes moved slowly across the hall, studying every elite present. No threat, no aggression, just presence. And that presence was enough to shake centuries of power. The elites were no longer laughing. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others exchanged quiet signals through light, scent, or energy. None of them had expected this, not now. Not here. The leopard species had not taken part in galactic politics for generations. They appeared only when balance was in danger, when survival itself was questioned. And now, one of them had chosen a human. The armored elite was the first to speak, its voice lower than before. This has never happened. The young alien woman watched Elias closely. She noticed his hands. They were steady. His breathing was slow. Most beings would have shown fear standing so close to such a creature. Elias did not. "Human," said the reptilian elite, its tone cautious now. "What have you done?" Elias shook his head slightly. "Nothing, I did not call it." The leopard let out a slow breath, a deep sound that echoed softly through the hall. Some elites leaned back, instinctively creating distance. "The Watcher has chosen," the glowing vein being said quietly. "That alone changes the council's position." Elias turned his head slightly, finally looking at the leopard. Its eyes met his. In that moment, memories flashed through his mind. Burning skies, broken cities. Human ships torn apart in silence. Soldiers fighting with empty hands when weapons failed. Engineers working without sleep. Civilians standing their ground instead of running. Humanity had not been ready for the war. But they had refused to disappear. The leopard broke eye contact and looked back at the elites. "The human claims they survived first contact," the armored elite said. "Is this true?" The leopard did not speak in words. Instead, a low pulse of energy moved through the hall. Images formed in the air, raw, unfiltered memories. Battles between human ships and the void-born, chaos, loss, adaptation, humans changing tactics mid-fight. Small victories earned at great cost. Then something more disturbing, void-born ships slowing their attacks, adjusting, then avoiding certain sectors, human sectors. Gasps filled the hall. "They learned," the winged elite whispered. "Faster than us." The leopard's presence pressed down gently, demanding attention. The message was clear. Humanity was not strong because of size or age. They were strong because they refused to stop learning. Elias spoke again. "The void-born test limits. They seek weak points. When they find resistance that adapts, they hesitate." The reptilian elite's eyes narrowed. "You are saying humanity scared them?" "No," Elias replied calmly. "We confused them. The difference mattered." Confusion created opportunity. The Alliance had fought the Voidborn using ancient strategies, predictable formations, standard defenses. The Voidborn had adapted easily. Humans did not fight that way. They improvised. They failed. They tried again. They used broken ships as traps. They sacrificed ground to gain time. They attacked supply routes instead of fleets. Messy, costly, effective. And now, the glowing vein being asked. "Now," Elias said, "they are coming in force." The hall grew tense. "Our deep scans confirm it," Elias continued. "A void-born convergence near our shared borders." The young alien woman stepped forward, surprising many. "If Earth falls first," she said, "the Alliance will be next." Some elites looked offended, others looked worried. "We are not asking for rescue," Elias said. "We are asking for coordination." The armored elite crossed its massive arms. "Why should we trust humans to lead?" Elias did not answer immediately. The leopard stood. The sound of its movement echoed like thunder. It walked slowly forward, placing itself between Elias and the elites. Its gaze hardened. Another pulse of energy spread through the hall. This time the image was different. The Voidborn attacking an ancient Leopard homeworld, the Leopards fighting back, strong but outnumbered. Then extinction. The hall trembled. The young alien woman felt her breath catch. They were almost wiped out. The Leopard turned its head slightly toward Elia's. A shared understanding passed between them. Humanity had survived what the Leopards had not. "You see us as weak," Elia said quietly, "but weakness taught us survival." The laughter from earlier felt distant now, embarrassing. The reptilian elite lowered its head slightly, a sign of respect. "What is your proposal, human?" Elia straightened. "A joint task force, mixed fleets, human adaptability combined with your firepower." "Risky," the winged elite said. "So is extinction," Elias replied. Silence returned. Then slowly, one by one, the elites began to signal agreement. Not all, but enough. The armored elite spoke last. "We will send observers." "That is enough," Elias said, "for now." The Leopard returned to Elias' side and sat again, as if its role was complete. The meeting ended without ceremony. As the hall emptied, the young alien woman approached Elias. Up close, she appeared young by her species' standards. Her eyes reflected curiosity more than fear. "You changed everything today," she said softly. Elias shook his head. "No, the war did." She hesitated. "What happens next?" Elias looked at the Leopard, then back at her. "Now we fight smarter." Far beyond the hall, Voidborn fleets aligned into massive formations. The galaxy was moving toward a battle unlike any before. And for the first time, humanity was no longer dismissed as a joke. They were becoming a question, one the galaxy could not ignore. The human fleet moved quietly through deep space. Elias Kane stood on the command deck of the carrier Resolute Dawn. Around him, human officers worked in focused silence. Screens showed star maps, enemy projections, and live data streams coming from allied ships. For the first time, human vessels flew alongside alien fleets, not as observers but as equals. Still, tension filled the air. The Alliance ships were powerful, massive, ancient. Their weapons could burn moons, yet their movements were slow, careful, and predictable. Human ships were smaller, faster, and restless. "Voidborn movement confirmed," said Commander Reyes, her eyes locked on a display. "They're adjusting course, they know we're here." Elias nodded. "They always know." Across the fleet, alien observers watched closely. Many doubted this plan. Some expected humans to fail within minutes of real combat. The young alien woman from the Hall of Elites, her name was Lyra, stood silently behind Elias. She had been assigned as a liaison. Her presence was both political and symbolic. She studied the humans. They joked quietly. They argued. They adjusted plans on the fly. There was no rigid silence like on Alliance ships. It felt chaotic, yet effective. "Your fleet does not follow fixed command patterns," Lyra said. Elias smiled faintly. "No, we follow intent." Before she could ask more, alarms sounded. "Voidborn ships emerging," Reyes shouted. Space itself seemed to tear open. Dark shapes appeared, unnatural and sharp, their surfaces bending light. Voidborn ships slid into real space like predators entering water. The Alliance fleets immediately formed defensive lines. Human ships did not. "Execute scatter plan Echo," Elias ordered calmly. Lyra's eyes widened as human ships broke formation completely, spreading in dozens of directions. "That is disorder," she said. "That is freedom," Elias replied. The Voidborn reacted instantly. Their ships split and pursued. The first clash was violent. Alliance weapons fired in heavy volleys. Space lit up with energy blasts. Some Voidborn ships shattered. Others adapted, shifting forms, bending attacks away. Human ships darted through the chaos. One human frigate pretended to flee, drawing 3 Voidborn vessels after it. Suddenly it cut power, drifting dead. The Voidborn closed in. Then space exploded. Hidden mines detonated. The frigate reignited its engines and escaped through the fire. Lyra stared. "You sacrificed a ship." "No," Elias said. "We baited them." The battle intensified. Humans used debris fields. Asteroids became cover. Wreckage became weapons. Damaged ships turned into traps. The Voidborn began to hesitate. "They are slowing," Reyes said. "They're recalculating." Elias' eyes narrowed. "Good. That means they're confused." Then it happened. A massive Voidborn command ship moved forward, larger than anything before. Its presence felt heavy, like gravity itself had grown stronger. Alliance ships faltered. "This was not in our projections," an alien commander transmitted. Lyra felt fear ripple through the Allied fleet. "That ship commands the others." Elias was already moving. "All human units, focus distraction pattern." You cannot face that directly, Lyra said. We won't, Elias replied. We'll make it look like we will. Human ships surged forward, firing everything they had, not to destroy but to provoke. The command ship responded. Its weapons fired in a wide arc. 3 human ships vanished. Lyra gasped. Elias closed his eyes for half a second, then he spoke. Now, space folded. A hidden Alliance dreadnought emerged behind the Voidborn command ship, exactly where humans had predicted it would move. Its weapon fired. The command ship shattered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Voidborn fleet began to break apart. Without coordination, their movements became wild, disorganized. Human ships chased them down. Alliance ships followed, stunned but effective. Within minutes, the battlefield was silent. Victory. Lyra felt her hands shaking. You predicted their response. No, Elias said quietly. We predicted their fear. The Leopard's image appeared briefly on a side screen, observing from afar, unseen by most. The Watcher had been right. After the battle, alien commanders sent signals of acknowledgement. Some even sent apologies. Humanity was no longer an experiment, they were a weapon. As the fleet regrouped, Reyes approached Elias. We lost good people. Elias nodded. We always do. Lyra stepped closer. Your kind fights knowing loss is certain. Elias looked at the stars. We fight because of it. Far away, deep in Voidborn territory, something ancient awakened. The humans had changed the rules, and the Voidborn were about to respond. The victory did not last long. Elias Kane knew that before the last wreckage cooled. Human and Alliance ships gathered in a loose formation, repairing damage and recovering escape pods. Space was quiet again, but it was not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that came before something worse. Lyra stood beside Elias on the command deck, watching the stars. The Voidborn retreated faster than expected, she said. They didn't retreat, Elias replied. They pulled back. She frowned. There is a difference? Yes, he said. Retreat is fear, pulling back is planning. As if the universe wanted to agree, a warning signal spread across the fleet. Long-range sensors spiked. Commander Reyes turned sharply. Multiple energy signatures, not ships, something else. The screens changed. Space rippled in distant sectors, not tearing open like before, but bending, as if reality itself was being stretched. Lyra's voice dropped. That is old Voidborn technology, very old. Elias felt a cold weight settle in his chest. What does it do? She swallowed. It rewrites battlefields, it turns space into a trap. Before orders could be given, the first wave hit. Gravity twisted. Human ships lurched as invisible forces pulled them off course. Alliance vessels struggled even more, their massive frames slow to respond. Some ships collided, others spun helplessly. Stabilizers failing, Reyes shouted. Elias grabbed a rail as the deck tilted. Manual control, cut automated corrections. Lyra stared at him. Your ships will become vulnerable. They already are, Elias said, but at least this way humans can react. Across the fleet, human pilots took control by hand. Movements were rough, imperfect, but alive. They fought the pull instead of trusting systems that no longer made sense. The Voidborn returned. This time they did not rush in. They surrounded the battlefield. Dozens, then hundreds. Their ships moved slowly, confidently, like hunters closing a net. Alliance weapons fired, some shots hit, many missed, bent away by warped space. Fear spread through the comms. We cannot maneuver, an alien captain cried. Elias' jaw tightened. They want us stuck, panicked. Lyra looked at him. Can humans adapt to this? He did not answer immediately. Instead, he opened a channel to all human ships. Listen, he said, his voice calm but firm. This space doesn't obey rules anymore, so stop trying to fly like it does, fly like it doesn't. Some pilots laughed nervously, then they tried. Human ships began moving in short, sharp bursts. Not smooth arcs but broken paths, sudden stops, violent turns, risky moves that would normally tear a ship apart. But they worked. Voidborn targeting systems struggled. Their weapons fired where humans should have been, not where they were. Lyra watched in disbelief. You are fighting chaos with chaos. No, Elias said. We're fighting it with people. Still, the cost was high. A human destroyer was caught in a gravity fold and crushed. An Alliance cruiser split apart under pressure it could not escape. Elias felt every loss like a weight. Then the Leopard appeared, not physically. Its presence filled the command deck, heavy and focused. Lyra felt it immediately, her breath caught. The Watcher sent a vision, a narrow path through the warped space, temporary, dangerous, a chance. Elias understood. All ships, he ordered. Follow my signal, do not hesitate. He transmitted coordinates. Reyes looked at him. That path isn't stable. I know, Elia said. That's why the Voidborn aren't watching it. Human ships moved first. Alliance ships followed reluctantly. The path closed behind them as they passed through. Space snapped back into violent distortion. They had escaped the trap, but the Voidborn were not finished. From the darkness, something new emerged, a structure. Not a ship, a living construct, vast and slow, pulsing with dark energy. It radiated control, authority. Lyra's voice trembled. That is a Voidborn core mind. Elias felt a chill. Their commander. The core mind spoke. Not with sound, but with pressure. Thoughts forced into every mind present. Humans are inefficient, emotional, temporary. Surrender and be preserved. Some Alliance ships powered down. Fear broke discipline. Elias stepped forward as if the core mind could see him. No, he said aloud. The pressure increased. Human resistance is illogical. Elias remembered Earth, cities rebuilt after ruin, children born under broken skies, people choosing to stand again and again. Logic didn't get us here, he said. Choice did. He opened a private channel to Earth. Activate Project Ember, he said quietly. Lyra turned sharply. What is Project Ember? Elias did not answer. Far away on a quiet human world, something ancient by human standards woke up. Not a weapon of size, a weapon of will. Back on the battlefield, the Voidborn core mind pressed harder. Alliance morale dropped. Ships drifted, some prepared to flee, then human ships began transmitting something strange. Voices, messages, memories, laughter, music, final goodbyes, promises. Lyra realized with horror what was happening. They are sharing themselves. Elias nodded. The Voidborn learned by absorbing patterns. We're giving them too many. Human ships charged the core mind. They were destroyed one by one, but each carried something the Voidborn had never faced before. Defiance without reason, sacrifice without calculation. The core mind hesitated just for a moment. That moment was enough. Space tore open behind the Voidborn construct. A human fleet emerged, not Alliance ships. Not standard military. Civilian hulls, mining vessels, converted transports, old frames rebuilt and reinforced. Project Ember, humanity's last line. Every ship moved with one purpose, not to survive, to end the threat. Elias felt tears sting his eyes. Lyra whispered, "You planned this." "No," Elias said. "We prepared for failure." The battle erupted with a fury the galaxy had never seen, and for the first time the Voidborn felt something new, fear. The battlefield burned. Human ships from Project Ember pushed forward without hesitation. Their hulls were scarred, mismatched, and patched together from old technology, but their engines burned bright. They moved with purpose, not fear. The Voidborn core mind reacted instantly. Dark waves of energy spread outward, crushing several ships at once. Metal twisted. Hulls broke. Lives ended in flashes of light, but the human fleet did not slow. Lyra watched from the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, her hands clenched. "They are dying," she said quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. "They knew that when they launched." The core mind pressed into every channel again, futile. Humanity cannot endure this loss. Elias stepped closer to the main display. "You still don't understand us." Human ships split into groups, each following different attack paths. Some fired weapons, others rammed. A few released payloads not designed to explode, but to confuse, old probes, signal storms, false data bursts. The Voidborn struggled to process it all. They had faced strong enemies. They had never faced reckless ones. The Alliance fleets began to move again. Inspired, perhaps, or ashamed. Heavy weapons fired. Coordinated strikes followed human paths. Slowly, the Voidborn control field weakened. But the cost was terrible. Reyes' voice broke through. "We're losing Ember ships fast." Elias nodded once. "Keep recording everything. Let them be remembered." Lyra looked at him sharply. "You speak as if this is already over." "It is," Elias said. "One way or another." The Leopard's presence returned, heavier than before. It watched not just Elias but the entire battlefield. The Watcher had seen war's end. This one was different. The Voidborn core mind shifted tactics. Tendrils of energy locked onto the largest Ember ship, a converted mining carrier. It began to pull it apart. Inside the ship, human crew members continued working calmly. They rerouted power, armed charges, recorded messages. The ship detonated, not outward, inward. The core mind recoiled. That hurt. For the first time, the Voidborn screamed, not in sound, in disruption. Across the battlefield, Voidborn ships lost coordination. Some drifted, others collided. "That damaged its processing," Reyes said in disbelief. Elias allowed himself a small breath. "They finally felt pain. But the core mind was not finished. It turned its full attention on Elia's ship. Gravity surged. The resolute Dawn groaned as systems failed. Shields collapsing? Rays shouted. Lyra stumbled as the deck tilted. Fear finally reached her eyes. Its targeting command. Elia's remained still. He opened a private channel. "To all human ships," he said calmly, "you've done enough." No one pulled back. Instead, replies flooded in. "We're still here. For Earth. For each other." The Voidborn pressed harder. The galaxy did not celebrate. Not at first. After the battle, space felt empty in a way Lyra had never known. The Voidborn had vanished from the region, their forces broken and scattered, but victory felt heavy. Too many signals were gone. Too many ships would never answer again. Lyra stood in the quiet observation chamber of an Alliance medical ship. Outside the window, stars drifted slowly. Somewhere among them was the place where Elias Kane had stayed behind. Gone. The official report called him missing in action. Lyra knew better. Across Alliance space, messages spread, not loud announcements, not proud speeches. Simple records, human ships transmitting names, faces, voices, final words the elites watched. And for the first time they listened. On Earth, cities fell silent for 1 full hour. No signals, no movement, just remembrance. People stood together not because they were told to, but because they chose to. Humanity mourned. Then they returned to work, rebuilding fleets, training pilots, sharing what they had learned, improving defenses, preparing. The war was not over. Voidborn raids still happened at the edges of space. Smaller, faster, more cautious. They no longer attacked humans directly, they avoided them. Alliance fleets noticed the pattern. "They go around human systems," one commander reported. "Even when it costs them." Fear had changed sides. Lyra attended the next council meeting in the Hall of Elites. This time there was no laughter. The seats were full, but the mood was different. Respect had replaced pride. Silence replaced mockery. At the center of the hall there was no human, only an empty space. The armored elite spoke first. The human commander's sacrifice altered the war. The reptilian elite nodded. His species altered the galaxy. Lyra stood. Elias Kane did not act alone, he acted as a human. That mattered. The council voted. Humanity was no longer a minor member of the Alliance. They were given full strategic authority over anti-Voidborn operations. Some called it dangerous. Others called it necessary. The Leopard watchers observed. They did not interfere. They had already chosen. Far from the council, deep within warped space, the Voidborn gathered what remained of themselves. They had lost their core mind. Their unity was broken, but they were not destroyed. They adapted. They studied the humans, not their weapons, their behavior, their willingness to die for others, their refusal to stop. This disturbed the Voidborn more than any weapon. Then something impossible happened. A signal appeared, weak. Human. Lyra was the first to see it. She froze, staring at the display. This can't be real. Technicians gathered. Human analysts leaned in. The signal repeated. Encrypted, old Project Ember frequency. Lyra's hands shook as she opened the channel. Static filled the room, then a voice, rough, tired, alive, still standing. Lyra gasped, "Elias." The message was short, fragmented, but clear enough. He had survived. The Leopard had not only shielded him, it had carried him to a place outside normal space, a place where watchers waited. The signal ended. Hope spread like fire. The Alliance wanted answers, rescue plans, immediate action. The watchers denied them all. "This is not your path," the Leopard transmitted. "Not yet." Lyra felt frustration, then understanding. Elias had crossed a line. He was no longer just human, he had become something else. A bridge, weeks passed, the war slowed, Voidborn attacks decreased, their confidence was gone, then the Watchers acted. They gathered representatives from every major species. Including humans, Lyra was chosen. The meeting was not in space, not on a planet, it was somewhere between. The Leopard stood before them, larger than any ship. "The war cannot end through force alone," the Watcher said. "The Voidborn fear humanity. Fear creates delay, delay creates choice." Lyra listened closely. "Humanity will be the blade," the Watcher continued, "but also the voice." The message was clear. Humans would not just fight. They would confront, negotiate, threaten, end, and Elias Kane would return when the time was right. Lyra looked into the shifting light around the Watcher. "Is he alive?" "Yes," came the answer, and changing. Across the galaxy, humans prepared for something no species had ever done before. Not total war, total resolve. The Voidborn watched and waited. They had learned how to fight humanity. They had not learned how to break it. The final choice was coming, for them, for everyone. The meeting place did not exist on any map. It was not space. It was not time. It was a calm, endless field of light and shadow where thoughts felt heavier than gravity. The Voidborn gathered there not as ships or weapons, but as forms of shifting darkness. Broken, divided, watching, they waited for humanity. They did not expect Elias Kane. He stepped forward alone. He no longer wore a uniform. His body was human but changed, stronger, slower to age. His eyes carried something new, experience beyond years. The Watchers stood behind him, silent. The Voidborn felt fear ripple through themselves, not fear of power, fear of memory. You should not exist, the Voidborn projected. You were consumed. Elias shook his head. No, I was chosen. The Voidborn tightened their forms. You bring war. I bring an end, Elias said. They pushed back with pressure, showing images of destruction. Worlds broken, species erased. Futures burned. This is what we are, they said. This is how we survive. Elias watched without turning away. So are we. He showed them Earth. Not cities at their strongest. Cities broken, people pulling others from ruins, hands bleeding, faces tired, still standing. He showed them soldiers crying over fallen friends, then standing back up. He showed them parents teaching children how to hope after loss. The Voidborn recoiled. This is weakness, they said. Elias smiled softly. You still don't understand. He stepped closer. We are not strong because we win every fight, he said. We are strong because we keep choosing to stand again. The Voidborn pushed harder. You will die eventually. Your kind will fade. Yes, Elias agreed. And that's why every choice matters. Silence spread. The Watchers spoke. Humanity does not seek your destruction, they said. They seek your decision. The Voidborn shifted. Decision was unfamiliar. They only knew expansion or extinction. What choice, they asked. Elias answered. Leave, withdraw beyond our space, never return. The Voidborn laughed in broken waves. You cannot force us. I know, Elias said. That's why I won't. He opened his hands. Behind him, the light changed. Human fleets appeared in vision, not attacking, not advancing, waiting, prepared to fight forever if needed, prepared to lose, prepared to stand. The Voidborn felt something worse than fear, exhaustion. Endless war against a species that would never stop, never break, never surrender. This conflict offers no gain, the Voidborn realized. For the first time in their existence, survival did not mean victory, it meant retreat. We will go, they said slowly, beyond your reach. Elias nodded, and if you return. The Watcher's presence grew heavier. The Voidborn understood. Then humanity will be waiting. The Voidborn dissolved into the void, scattering beyond known space. The war ended without a final explosion, without cheers, without conquest. Elias returned, not as a hero seeking praise, but as a human who had finished his task. Lyra stood in the hall of elites as Elias walked in again. No laughter greeted him this time. The elites stood, every one of them. The Leopard Watcher entered last. It did not sit beside Elias this time, it stood behind him. The meaning was clear. Humanity